Hi, Mike Kennedy with you. Some resources for Lent we're talking about right now. I had mentioned this book, No Greater Love. The entire book is about the passion of Christ. In other words, it leads into those few days at the end of his life, and I assume it does a resurrection too. But this book is about 215 pages long. The author is Dr. Edward Sri, and he does really good things. So that's going to be a good book. Another book. In these books, if you have a Catholic bookstore around, you probably could pick them up. It's probably too late to send for them. Maybe, I don't know exactly. But then here's another one. This is another Ascension Press book, and this is a Lenten companion, a personal encounter with the power of the gospel. So this is kind of like a thing you can journal in. In other words, see, there's a question, and then there's a page, and this is centered around you encountering God, not just learning something. You know, there's two ways to look at study for religion. One where you just learn about things, and the other avenue where you learn things and you experience it. So I think this is more geared towards experiencing it. And so every day in Lent for the year A, I guess that we're in now, is in this. And there are a number of videos online that go with this. I think there's only 5 or 6. It's not a lot, but so that looks like it's going to be a very good book too. Here's another book. Isn't specifically for Lent, but this is called Becoming a Eucharistic People, The Hope and Promise of Parish Life by Timothy O'Malley. He authored another book called The Real Presence. So I think I would have rather started with this book than starting with this one. But we're trying to renew the faith and experience of the Eucharist. And so this is a book about more how the community, how the church, your church, can do it. And then you always have the option, too, of a spiritual classic, or talking about a spiritual classic. This is talking about Divine Mercy, and it's got this. Vinnie Flynn has done a number of books. They're all basically, the catch thing is 7 secrets of, so he's got them on other subjects too. But this is a good book, and it talks about these different aspects of Divine Mercy. And if you're not familiar with this, there was a Polish nun who started receiving these revelations, and she talked with Jesus. Jesus said, I want you to draw, I want you to paint this picture. And of course, she tried and failed miserably. She wasn't an artist. Then she got the person who would authorize it in her order or whatever, convinced that she should do it. So they hired an artist and kept doing it over and over again till they got it near what it is. And everything about this has some significance, but the biggest things are the rays of light coming out of Jesus' heart. But you could go for that too. Some of the regulars, you could read the diary of Sister Faustina, that is very thick, and I don't know, I found it too involved, or not, to me. It needed more explanation. Like a book like that, it would be better maybe to take some highlights or a theme out of it and do it with some text that explains what's being said or done. And let's see, I'll get another one here. I put some things together. another thing you could YouTube, okay. Bishop Barron has this ministry called Word on Fire, and he's done this little series of what's going to be 5 videos, and it's called, well, Wonder. The first one is about light. It's basically a series that's going to show you how religion and science fit together, and that one doesn't contradict the other one. And Catholics are big on that. But the videos are like 15 minutes long. The first one was okay. The second one, which I watched yesterday, was even better. And I think these would be nice to experience in a theater on a large screen, because they're trying to get you to understand the or inspired to look at the mystery of God and how awesome and grandeur the universe is, and that God created it. And he's pulling in not all Catholic people saying, he's got some Albert Einstein quote and some other people, but he does address a number of great men of science that were Catholic. So it's kind of nice. I'm going to continue watching it. That, I'll put a link below to it, and we'll see how they go, but I think they're going to be good. And they touch on the scientific concepts, but he doesn't like sit there, or he isn't even in it, but it's narrated and it has these different clips in it. Some are still images, most aren't. And I don't know, it's pretty good if you want to look at the possibility that religion and science don't actually conflict at all. That would be a good series. We're going to be covering that more too in the Catechism in a Year program with Father Mike Schmitz, and he's got 2 series which would be ideal to start at Lent and to follow through. They're the Bible in a Year and the Catechism in a Year. So what happens, you start on day 1. You can start any day. You don't have to be January 1st. And you go through the entire Bible in a year. Now, that's all on there now. We're doing it on YouTube. You can do podcasts too, but we like the YouTube because as he's speaking, the words are coming up. So we kind of like that. But you can do it just as an audio podcast. And so the Through the Bible one, and then the second one, which is being released every day because this is the first year it's been done, is the Catechism in a Year. And I thought it was going to be a lot drier than it is. I'm impressed with this, but the Catechism of the Catholic Church is a document, fairly thick book that summarizes 2,000 years of Christian faith and belief, and it's good. They touched on this idea of science and religion, and very specifically talking about what sort of questions science can answer and what sort of questions faith can answer. So it's really good. But that would be 2 really good options to start one of those during Lent. If you haven't had a lot of exposure to the Bible, I do the Bible in a year first. And you really want to stick with it. The Old Testament, he starts in the Old Testament. He doesn't necessarily do everything in order because sometimes they're theme connected, or just that idea he wants to break it up so we don't, you don't spend the whole, 3/4 of the year in just the Old Testament. So it's kind of, he's got things moved around a little bit, which is really good. I think it holds, viewer interest. And that's also available on YouTube and available as a podcast. The Bible in a Year podcast hit number 1, on the Apple Store for a while. I guess it's never been below 30, so that's pretty good. And the Catechism in a Year was right up there too at the beginning, but I haven't followed I'm following the videos, but I haven't looked up the stats to see how well that's doing. But they were saying at one time 750,000 people were listening to or watching the well, that would just be listening, the podcast for the Bible in the Year on Apple, the Apple Store. So that's a lot of people. So anyway, that's some ideas, book based, you know, uh, something that isn't specifically, cut up to say this should be done at Lent. This is just No Greater Love, The Passion of Christ. We've got books that are specific, where there's each day of Lent, there's a reading or reflection or whatever. And then we have books. I thought I brought one other one out with me, but spiritual classic books, because there are a number of them. And, some of the spiritual classics they're written in a different style, because the people back then, when they were written, talked differently. And, I don't know, sometimes they're hard to digest. Like, they need to be rewritten. Of course, they don't want to, they're not going to change what this person said, but it would be nice to, update it at least in today's language. And, it can be noted that it was updated, or newer translation or whatever. And then general books about the Eucharist too. So there you go. There's some resources. Hopefully you'll try one of them. I'll have links below to the Bible in a Year, the Catechism in a Year, this Wonder series by Bishop Barron. And like I say, you can check into the books being available either online at Ascension Press or your local Catholic bookstore. No Greater Love, A Biblical Walk Through the Mass. And it's by Dr. Edwin Sear, a theologian, and he's good. He does a good job in person too. I've watched him on DVD. He's good. So here's the other book, The Ascension Lenten Companion, and this is by a Father Mark Topes. And there are some videos online that go with this, although they're not very long. And here is this Becoming a Eucharistic People, the Hope and Promise of Parish Life. And this is by Timothy P. O'Malley. I've just started reading this. Here we have the 7 Secrets of Divine Mercy, and it's by Vinnie Flynn. So it's talking about the Divine Mercy, the numerous visions that Sister Kowalski had about Jesus and what he told her to do.